Good morning, everyone. Today, I would like to introduce a new background filler. This is one of my favorites. It seems very intimidating, but it's actually very easy. It has a lot of continuous line work, a little backtracking, but nothing that is more than just a few stitches. The stencil that I used for this was Cindy Needham's Bamboo Weave, and this is the stencil with the information if you're interested. She names them Baby, Mama, and Papa. Papa is the largest, and that's what I'm going to use today for this tutorial because it'll allow for a larger view for you to see the detail. I have gone all the way down to the baby, and it's pretty exciting when you learn how to use it in different areas of your quilt as a background filler. The reason why we use background filler is mainly to allow our primary focal point to pop up and come forward. That adds dimension to our quilt. And so this allows that area of the quilt that is around that focal point, or maybe it's a motif, maybe it's some feathers, to look like it's standing up above the rest of the quilt, and it provides for the shadow in the sunshine and shadow. So as we look at this practice memory piece, which will be provided for you in a PDF file, you can see that at the top I have a straight line drawn. What you want to do is pretend that that is the horizontal line on your project. So you will definitely want to find a center point, find the horizontal and vertical. And then what I do is I lay the top of my stencil, you can see this top row of line on the stencil, down, and I line it up with that line. And then I know where to begin my stencil work. And since this stencil is a repetitive stencil, you can actually lay it down, find your lines that you've already marked, and continue marking on your quilt. So this is great for small areas, large areas, however you want to do it. And so let's begin with a lesson on how do we quilt this, because it does look very daunting. What you want to do is you want to start near the bottom. If you've got a large area, I normally go towards the center, so this right here would be the center of the quilt, and then I'd be working out. And then if there is more below this, then you can always flip the quilt and then work from that direction. So what we want to do is we want to start at the top of this line right here. And we're wanting to take stitches, stitch it downward. And I'm going to put the arrow. When we get to this point right here, this corner, we're going to stitch across to the right. So I'm going to put my arrow. Now, in the beginning, you may want to find a halfway point. I did that when I first started out. It helped me. Yes, there are more registration marks that you have to mark on your quilt, but you've already have it marked up. So if it helps you, that's how I would go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark my halfway point with some lines like that so you can see it. I'll go ahead and do a couple of them. What's important when you get ready to do these repetitive lines is that you have an odd number so that you come out on top and come back across so you can keep with your continuous line. So after you've come across the bottom going to the right, you're going to go up a quarter of the way or half of the way of this half, and you're going to stitch to the left. And don't be concerned that your lines aren't straight. You do not have to do ruler work with this. That's the beauty of this. If you look at a basket and how it's weaved, they're not exactly straight because those reeds or pieces of material that was used to make that basket were not straight. So when you come across here, you're going to go back up, and then at the dotted line, which represents the halfway point, we're going to go across to the right, up a quarter, back across to the left, up to the corner, and across the top. And that would be to the right. So if you're looking at steps, this is going to be step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and step 6. When we get to the edge of this rectangle, we're going to come down. So there's our arrow. Across to the right, then up, then across, and down, and we begin the process again. So we're going to add these steps in. So from step 6, we'll go to step 7, 8, and 9. So let's do that again. So this point here is actually this point where we began over here. So we're going to go across to the right, up a quarter, across to the left, up, across to the right, up, across to the left, stitching up, stitch to the right, and come down, and across, stitch up, and across, stitch down, and begin the whole process again. And across and down. Say this is the end. We're going to stitch down, backtrack, come over this way. We're going to go up and over. Now we're working towards the left. And across Now this is where it changes up just a little bit. We've changed direction. Up, down. Don't worry about these up here because when we come across, you're going to be finishing off those lines. Again, don't worry about if you're not straight or if maybe one row looks like it's a little bit thicker than the other. It'll all come together and look natural in the end. And that's what I like about this pattern. It's very organic. It's very forgiving. Coming back towards the end, towards the beginning of the bottom, towards the end of this row. If this were cut off, we just stitch up, then back down. We'd come across and begin again. Now you should start seeing that basket weave effect happening. We'll do one more. All the way across. And down. So here you can definitely see the basket weave effect starting to take effect between these rows right here. When you're finished, you may want to come down. You will have to cut your thread and start over, but you can come down and make sure that you finish off the bottom line there. Once you get going back and forth and you really learn how to use this pattern, you can really stop and start anywhere you want. You'll learn how to use your traveling lines from your echoes around your motifs or your patterns to travel and actually make these seem like they disappear or go on. And I'm going to be showing you how that works in another tutorial. Some of you have already taken a look at the tutorial where I did the whole cloth quilt, the vintage whole cloth quilt mini medallion, and I used the baby bamboo weave in that medallion to be the background filler for that motif. So you may be familiar with this, but this now gives you a visual on the steps on how you go about quilting this pattern, the pattern of the basket weave, which will be coming up in some other projects that we are planning for tutorials in the future. So print out the PDF that will be provided for you that will have this stencil design on it. Again, if you're interested in getting your own, this is actually from Cindy Needham's Ultimate Background Collection. She does now offer this a la carte, so you can buy each stencil individually. So if you just wanted one stencil, or maybe you just wanted the 3 stencils, it makes it more affordable for her clients to purchase these instead of having to purchase the whole collection, which is what I did. But it's an invaluable tool in your toolbox of design, and I highly recommend it. You can also go about and use a simple ruler. These are 1-inch. Spacing with the bamboo, so you can definitely use a ruler to do your grid work on this stencil design, so you won't have a stencil. So they're really, it's just up to you on your choice, but there are options for you other than purchasing a stencil. So this concludes the tutorial on how to quilt the basket weave background filler. I hope that you find wonderful ways to use it and learn to appreciate its value as much as I do. I wish you happy quilting today.